This is Chris for JamPlay.com, and we are continuing our look at playing bar chords without pain and with correct hand position to set you up for making bar chords a little bit easier to play. Before you view this video, if you haven't already, look just below you, and there is going to be an introduction on correct hand position and playing the basic E-form bar chord. In this lesson, we're going to be looking at how to play the A-shape bar chord. So, the same kinds of things apply in terms of basic finger position, making sure your thumb is down, making sure you're playing just on the side of your first finger with your bar. But there are a couple interesting challenges that get introduced when we try to play the A shape. First of all, we want to learn how to play the A shape 3 different ways in order to set ourselves up for playing the A shape bar chord well. The first way is this. Notice I'm playing the A chord, but I have my first finger free, just like we did with the E shape. And also my first finger is not tense. It's just kind of loose, doing its thing, which is nothing. Now, when we're down here in these lower frets, playing this chord and moving it around while keeping your thumb in position is fairly easy, but depending on the size and fatness of your fingers, the higher you get, the harder it becomes to fit all your fingers in one fret. So we use what's called the double bar technique. There are 2 different ways that guitarists generally do this. The first of which is to use your third finger. You want to make sure that your thumb is in the same position that it always is supposed to be, which is the joint of this part of your thumb on the highest part of the hump of the neck and between your first and second fingers. When you're doing this, you're taking your third finger and you're covering your D, your G, and your B strings, all with one finger. The disadvantage to using your third finger for most people, unless you have a double jointed knuckle right here, is that it's hard to reach that E string because your finger gets in the way. That's sometimes acceptable though. It's okay, you don't always have to hit that string. But what you're going to do is you're going to practice moving without the bar, your third finger, up and down the neck. Make sure you keep your thumb in position. Just go to the 12th fret and then move back down. You want to make sure when you're doing this with your right hand that you're only purposely strumming your inner 4 strings. You don't want to be worrying about your low string, and this one is dead anyway because of the third finger issue. You also want to make sure that when you're doing this, that you're not doubling up. Now this is important really when you're barring with your first finger too. You don't want to be doing this ever because you don't have that opportunity when you're playing an actual chord. But sometimes when people are moving these around, they tend to do this kind of thing to try to get it down. Don't get in that habit. Make sure that your fingers are completely independent. And then the third way we're going to play the A chord is with our pinky. Now, this is my favorite way to play the A-form bar chord because it's much easier. My pinky anyway, and a lot of people's pinkies bend better than our third finger. So you're going to move this one around. This one you'll have the most tendency to want to compensate like this while you're moving this one around, but resist that urge. And you can feel free to strum 5 strings here, leaving your top one out, or your bottom string, your 6th string out. And by strumming your high E string, you assure that that's in the correct position, that your 4th finger's in the correct position. Okay, now once we've done this with all 3 ways of playing the chord, we can go to the same exercise we referenced in the other video with the bar, and just moving that around. Again, make sure you're playing on the side of your finger. Make sure that your thumb is down between your first and second fingers if you have your hand laid out like this. And make sure that you're not doubling up. Make sure that you're able to do it with one finger. If it's too hard to play all the way down at the first and second fret right now, that's okay. Next, we want to combine them. And we're going to do this the same way we did the last time. We're going to fret, and I'm going to use my fourth finger for now. We're going to fret this first, get a good clean sound, and then we're going to put the bar on. And then move it around. Now, with this bar chord, because we're not playing our sixth string, you can have your first finger down just a little bit more. It can actually act as a way to halfway mute your low string. Notice I'm still playing on the side. In the last video I mentioned that you always want to have your finger up like this, and you can still play it that way. As long as though you're not letting this joint buckle too much and do this. You don't want to do this, see? You still want to have your hand out enough, and you still want your finger to be straight. There's a huge difference. This is going to tire you out and not be good after a while. Okay, moving that around. Making sure your thumb is in the right position. You know, you'll see a lot of people try to play with their thumb over here. That works to a point, but you're going to find, as you learn more and more chords, that you want that support right behind your first and second fingers. Next, we're going to move on to playing using the other two ways that I taught you in the beginning to play the A chord. Again, this form is great when you're down here. So you don't necessarily need to move this three-fingered way of approaching the A shape up past probably the 7th fret, where your first finger's on the 7th fret. After that, you'll be doing a double bar. Okay? Then you practice with your third finger, keeping in mind all the things that we've looked at. Now you're going to notice when you play these the different ways that your thumb position in the back is going to change a little bit. You're going to move it up just a little, you're going to move it down just a little, you might move it from side to side a bit, but you want to be careful not to do anything real drastic. You know, you don't want to be doing this. I mean, that's possible, and later there might be reasons to play a chord that way, but not right now. It's okay to move a little bit to make sure that you're comfortable, make sure that your arm is kind of in line and that you're not doing anything real awkward, but make sure that your thumb doesn't move too much. Make sure that your knuckles don't buckle too much and that you've got plenty of space underneath to get a good arched hand position. There's a lot more information on learning chords, learning bar chords, and adding to your chord library at JamPlay.com. Check it out.